Hello and welcome to the Alter Project. Today guys, we're building hands. But not just any hands, hands created through ancient technology capable of manipulating water. Today we journey to the west side of Alter and explore this lake located right behind the Temple of Judo. The reason for why I thought of this bizarre idea is because, well, my map has experienced many unnatural changes using World Painter, and before I knew it I had floating trees, overly hilly landscapes, and best of all, random water pillars. And for some reason this lake had a lot of them. Now usually I'd erase these side effects, however this time the water pillars did look pretty cool, so I decided to implement them into the official map. So today's video is called Changing a Lake Full of Water Pillars into a Lake Full of Water Arms. That is such a confusing title. But regardless, I think it became a pretty cool build at the end, so I hope you guys enjoy. So one thing to know about this map is that there are a lot of trees soaked in water. So our first step is to take all of them out using World Edit. Then I made these thin islands, which would later have these ruins that power the hands to keep its form from dismantling. I liked the random size each of the pillars had, so I marked the circumference of the pillars by changing the base layer with blue wool, and then marking the height of the pillar with red wool. Now don't worry, I'm not going to be asking you guys to imagine that the blue wool is water. In fact, the finished work will have hands made of actual water blocks, but to do that we have to first go through two big steps. And the two big challenges for this build is 1. Sculpting the hands, and 2. Using water to sculpt the hands. And both of them combined are pretty annoying. So rather than combining the two steps, why not execute them one by one? To do this, I began with sculpting the hands with blue wool. I made the basic shape of the hands using the brush tool in World Edit, and then later refined them by hand. That's a bit confusing, but yeah, by hand. To make these hands more hand-like, I think I focused the most on making the fingers curled slightly. I also think pushing the palm out by one block helps with the build look more like a hand as well. But again, I did make some flat abstract looking ones and ended up liking them, so if you were to build something similar to what I did here, I don't think you need to focus too much on how realistic the hands look. Now that's step 1 out of the way. Step 2, how are we going to make the hands turn into water? We could use the // replace command and change the blue wool blocks into water, however that will ultimately just create a pillar of water not too different from the ones we had earlier. Instead, we're going to be covering the hands with barrier blocks, which are basically invisible blocks in Minecraft. Now barrier blocks cannot be found anywhere in your inventory, so if you ever want to use them in your builds, as they are quite handy, you could either summon them using the /give command, or if you have World Edit, select them as a brush. So I took a few hours covering the hands with barrier blocks and voila! Now if we replace the blue wool with water, I'll guarantee that you'll have a few leaks, but you could easily cover them up using more barrier blocks. And there we have it, giant hands made of water. Very cool. Now my only remaining problem was how the lake itself looked. I temporarily took out all the water from the lake and began shaping the landscape of it. I did this by changing some of the layers with sand and played around with the texture of the lake floor. And finally, I built the ruins that power the ancient technology. I thought of making floating cubes on top of the ruins at first, but I came to the conclusion that it was only right to replace the floating cubes with floating water droplets made of stained glass instead. And that's pretty much it for the build. I'd say the most difficult part was sculpting the hands, but all in all, it was a super fun project to work on and something I would like to add on in the future. So without further ado, let's move on to the cinematic.
why I choose you. You're the one who can make me happy. Oh, you know you're in love when you come for the because reality is finally better than dreams.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. It was a super fun project to work on. Do tell me in the comment section below if you ever tried building hands in Minecraft and the tips you have for building them. Next week, we will finally be adding on to the portfolio series in which I share my concept sketching process with you guys. However, unlike the first one, next week's portfolio video will be viewer oriented, meaning out of the sketches I make, you guys are able to decide which of my sketches would be implemented into the world of Altar in the future. So do be excited for that. So that's pretty much it for today guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. Take care and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.